Hello, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new series of that we're doing called Must See Films. Must See Films is me and Chris see a film that we see usually on Netflix, VOD, and we talk about it because we can, and Josh has got his own series probably, so for that. Anyway, so the two people who know reasonably enough amount of films rather than the film review. So, this week it was Chris's turn to pick a film because we're taking turns. So what film did we see this week?
We saw Equilibrium, or as I knew it back in Scandinavia, Cubic.
It was called Cubic?
Yeah, I don't know why. Something about copyright laws and stuff. Never got into it.
I have no idea why it was called Cubic.
Oh.
Equilibrium I can understand, but Cubic just had nothing to do with cubes.
No, and for some strange reason, both C's were capitalized. So it both started and ending with a capital C. I got no clue.
That's just... Scandinavians are weird.
Yeah, no.
Right,
Yeah.
so as you chose the film, let's start off with you. What did you think of the film?
Well, I've seen it probably 15 times by now. I see it roughly once a year. So,
But yeah, it was the first time I've seen this film. I was told to see it about a decade ago when a mate of mine got absolutely obsessed. He got obsessed by it, but I think he may have missed the point. I think he may have missed the point, that one.
I think many people today, they don't see the film first. They see some form of review of the film first. Because it's so old and it gained most fame.
Yeah, because
People started slagging it off.
Yeah, because it came out in 2002, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
It's
a decade old now.
One of the early Christian Bale films.
Yeah. Makes me feel old. I was 12. Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, I can see all the flaws of the movie. I really can, but I can't help but love the movie still. It's just has that something about it that I really enjoy, even though I see all the flaws in it. But I've seen it so many times that I'm starting to get all these fan theories in my head when I see it. So,
Ooh, fan theories. This should get fun.
yeah. Might maybe have something up on the channel later. Just a small hint.
All right. I just saw the film and just went, wow, this is 90s as fuck. This is so 90s. Even though it's 2002, it's like post-Thatcher fascism, check. Japanese aesthetic, check. Bullet time, check. Really grim vampire look, check. It's wow. It's like, wow, this wouldn't have been out of place in like coming out in like 98 or something. So what are some of your fan theories? I'm sort of interested now.
Well, one of the things is that it's actually a rebranding of 1984 because it shares so much with that novel. You know, basically everything that Preston goes through, Christian Bale's character, is things that the main character of 1984 goes through. Except it's not about non-emotion, it's about hiding the truth instead.
Yeah. Well, that was definitely a thing. Because, well, that's one of the things I said about in the 90s as hell bit is fascism because of Thatcher, especially in the UK. Was it a British film? Was Equilibrium a British film?
No, I think it was American.
Bloody hell.
That's mostly American actors, at least.
Yeah. Well, he had Sean Bean Always Dies First. That just should be his full name now. Sean Bean Always Dies First.
Yeah, that's what I didn't like about some of his recent films. You sit there waiting for him to die, and he lives through the movie.
Yeah. Or the thing is, that was quite a sad thing, is that as soon as I saw him right at the very beginning, because I knew Christian Bale was going to be the main character, because he is protagonist du jour, and as soon as I saw Sean Bean, I just went, oh, God, he's going to die. And then he started going, oh, he feels. It's like, oh, God, he's going to die. God. It's like, right, 5 minutes later, he gets shot in the face. Okay, he's dead. Almost called that. It's not. It's like, it would have been dramatic, but right from the very beginning, I just kind of go, oh, Christ, he's going to die, isn't he?
Yeah, but
I think it lost part of his punch.
yeah. Back in 2002, he wasn't really known as that person yet. It's sort of post Game of Thrones in a way.
Yeah.
People didn't realize it until after Game of Thrones. But
Yeah.
back then, people didn't realize it. So whenever you saw him, it's like, oh, it's Sean Bean. Oh, he died. That's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where you have to look back on his work and go like, in Lord of the Rings he died first, Equilibrium he died first, Game of Thrones he died first. It's like, oh bollocks.
It's one of those things that once someone pointed out, you always notice it. It's like Tom Hanks and peeing,
And Keanu Reeves and being immortal.
or Keanu Reeves and being naked.
That too, yeah.
He's naked in all of his movies.
No, that's Mila Djokovic, the one from Resident Evil movies.
Yeah, she too.
She's always
if,
naked.
If they two get together in a movie, I swear, the whole movie is gonna be everyone is nude.
It's a nudist film. Nudist film starring Mila Djokovic and Keanu Reeves.
Remake of Nudist Colony of the Dead.
At some point, we're probably going to get to something like that, and it's like, yep, week off.
I would pay to see that movie. But yeah, many of the flaws in the movie, once you see it a few times, I don't know if you noticed much of it. They are rather blatant. So
yeah, well, I've only had passing glances to 1984 because I think the Orson Welles one I more know is Animal Farm.
yeah.
I don't really know. I have a copy of 1984. I just don't think I've read it.
Yeah. You've seen Equilibrium, so you basically know the plot now.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff that follows that sort of trend because it's sort of like V for Vendetta in some regard. It's oppressive conservative state. It's always the faking conservatives. Wonder why. Modern political satire. Then, yeah, it's always oppressive conservative government and something is deemed as bad. Usually art, because art is nice and subjective.
Yeah. And it's culture, and you can't have culture if you're conservative, That's impossible.
Yeah, although the conservatives are usually the religious sect, which most of the culture comes from, which is weird. Yeah. It's one of those strange oxymorons where the ultra conservatives are usually highly religious, which is where the culture comes from, but they're against culture. So it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, you missed the irony. Yeah, because that was one thing I noticed in V for Vendetta. I was trying to notice it here, but then I think there was one thing that was quite impressive. Is that they were pretty indiscriminate. As soon as you're literally setting fire to the Mona Lisa, you're going all in from there.
Yeah.
It's like all cult. Well, the thing is, the one thing that I thought was really quite strange is that they were setting fire to stuff like the Mona Lisa and burning all the books, but then they had that massive statue of what I'm guessing would be Atlas holding the Earth. It's like, that's culture. Why are you destroying that?
Yeah, that's one of the things, that I've noticed. The same as father having public speeches. If nobody feels and everyone obeys, why would you need to hold a rallying speech? And if nobody feels anything, why would they stand up and applaud afterwards?
Well, I think that's part of the 90s thing because... Well, one of the 90s things that happened in video games was saying, oh, look at TV, TV is bad, TV is oppressive, look at video games, we are the new, we are the rebel. And I think that's partly it's trying to degrade something as that, and so it's saying. So I think it was more. You have to have the drugs, and you have to have the speeches to keep the people docile. And
Yeah,
so
but it wasn't. Yeah, but everyone was docile already from the speeches held through the speakers all over the city. I mean, there were speakers that you could even hear once you were in your own home sleeping. You could still hear the speakers going on. But then, pretty early on in the movie and towards the end, Father is holding a speech on the square in front of a small audience in a glass cube.
oh yeah,
So,
that. Oop.
yeah, so that's along with the statue and a lot of other things. That's the flaws I've been talking about.
Mm.
But I mean, you can explain them away. It's
Yeah, it's. I think that ends up being part of the problem with the film is that trying to say, oh yes, no one feels anything, because that was part of the reason why I just went vampire aesthetic. No one feels anything. Oh my god, it's an entire country of fucking Twilight people. It's like, God, it's just gonna get boring. And so, yeah, it was. Yeah, it's trying to get rid of feeling and emotion. I just as soon as people started saying feeling and emotion, as soon as someone said emotion, I just went emotion. David Cage should get David Cage to watch this film. It's like, oh god, yeah, because trying to get rid of emotion and feeling is weird because it's not something you can objectively say, and it's not something you can objectively quantify, and I think that's where the film falls down slightly. Because it's going, you have to get rid of emotion. What's emotion?
yeah. And then you have the whole. That's the whole premise of the movie, you know. World War III happened, mankind was almost wiped out, and they know if a fourth happens,
Yeah,
everyone will die.
yeah,
That would be the end of humanity.
yeah.
So
As soon as I saw that, I just went, this has to be made in the 90s, and I was shocked it was made in 2002. I just thought, this sounds like something that was like pre-Matrix, because it's sort of nuclear apocalypse 1980s style.
Yeah. So then they create the Prosium, the drug that, uh, that makes everyone docile and everything.
Yeah.
So the whole premise of the movie is that the drug makes everyone emotionless, and everyone with emotions should be violent, right?
Yeah.
But if you look back at the movie, none of the violence is made by anyone with emotion aside from Christian Bale.
Mm.
He's the only man with emotions that are violent.
Well, I think that's supposed to be the 1984 bit coming through. It's the whole propaganda thing. It's the whole emotions are bad and emotions are not bad because the emotions are the unequivocal good guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sort of making the good guy so heavy-handedly the good guy. It sort of sticks out the propaganda as like even worse than Goebbels, or more heavy-handed than Goebbels.
And then everyone with emotions automatically know who around them have emotions, and nobody without emotions can see them, even if they do it on an open street,
Yeah.
All those small things like taking off your glove and feeling the handbar.
Yeah.
It's and everyone with emotions immediately band together in the underground, and immediately everyone has the exact same ideas, and everyone agrees with everyone.
Yeah, that was one thing that I thought of near the end of the film, because there was that bit where you had when Christian Bale finally meets the leader of the resistance and things like that, and they start saying, "Oh yes, if you killed the father, then everything would be solved." They just went, "But someone would just replace him." It's like, yeah, but we have bombs everywhere already. It's like, well, that's convenient. That's really convenient. It's good, yes, just kill one dude in a nice action sequence, and then everything explodes because we've already done the legwork. It's like, Okay, why?
Why did you explode it to begin with?
Yeah, it's like it's because 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 they say that all we need to do is disrupt the imposium, the drug. Just disrupt the drug for 24 hours and everyone will feel again. It's like, yeah, then why don't you just set off the bombs then? Screw killing the guy. Just blow up the stuff. Drug gets disrupted for a certain amount for 24 hours at least, and then everyone goes into a revolt and going, "Oh, look, emotions! They're so nice and emotions." It's just why bother killing the dude? It's like you don't need Preston. You've already done the legwork. Screw him. He's just a mouthy bastard.
Yeah. I mean, if they all rebel against Father, then, you know, Father would have no power.
Yeah,
So you don't need to kill the guy.
yeah. It's
But, I mean, I guess they needed him to do it because, Bale needed to kill people.
yeah. They need an action sequence. They need to
People,
put in the
yeah,
bullet time.
people actually did some counting. And the film has, I think it's 236 deaths. Exactly half of that, 118 people, are killed by Preston. He stands for half the body count of the movie,
But
and he's
yeah,
supposed to be the good guy. And most of that is after he starts feeling.
yeah.
And
It's
then half of the rest is indirect his fault as well.
oh yeah. But it's there was the one thing that I always started thinking is that as soon as they started showing us, oh look all of these large armed militias here to protect art. It's going really. I would never see anything like that these days. There wouldn't be like an armed militia saying, "Oh yes, we must not burn the Mona Lisa. Let's just hire 100 guards or so and just guard the thing as a military force." It's like, who the fuck would do that? It's a painting. It's these days having that sort of large militia style is just, as they say would happen. It's like, no, no one's that insane.
I also like how they had, the computerized looking glass or magnifying glass to look at the Mona Lisa. And it was so important for them to note that it is the Mona Lisa, the original. Like, would they have not burned it if it was a fake?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good point. It's like it doesn't. It's like it shouldn't matter if it's the real one or the replica. They just still need to destroy it anyway. So what was the point of checking?
And I opened this cache and it's full of stuff, full of paintings and books and music and all kinds of stuff. But they take up the first thing that happens to be this painting of Mona Lisa and have a computerized magnifying glass to tell them that it's the original. And then they burn all of it without looking at anything else.
Yeah,
But
actually,
it was, yeah,
yeah, that's actually a good point. It's sort of the whole bits of like, oh look, it's sci-fi dystopia. Why magic magnifying glass? Why do you need it to show it's a sci-fi dystopia?
and then they never use it again.
Yeah, yeah. It's basically just it's scene dressing as I would really think of it. It's like, oh look, it's sci-fi dystopia. Why magic looking glass and they're burning paintings? Ooh, edgy.
And
And
the whole looking glass, that's rather important as well because it looks like an old timey, steampunky deal. And when you see them in uh, the storage later, he goes there twice, and both times the person stationed at the storage doesn't have a computer like everyone else in the city. He has a big
book.
handwritten tome.
Yeah, and this is part of the because this is part of the reason why I think part of this script started out as a vampire movie
Yeah,
because it it has that. What it has the aesthetic from Daybreakers,
Yeah,
where the entire world is taken over by vampires and everything is grey and black, and whenever there's color, it's high contrast, like the red when Christian Bale's holding it when he first gets it out the box and rubbing it all over his face,
yeah,
like the weirdo that he is. It's like, oh, it's black and grey, and oh, it's grey face, and suddenly look red. Um, yeah, because I started thinking that for the whole film. It's like a lot of this is just really grey color palette. Whenever there's color, it's usually emotive and all of that stuff. And it all came to a head right at the very end when Christian Bale kicks in the door of that place where he destroys all of the screens that project the father and stuff like that.
yeah.
It's him walking in, guns in hand, white clothed, blood out of his hand and blood coming from his neck. It was
Mhm.
like, well, this scene was stolen from a vampire movie.
Yeah,
Wow, this could have been in like Daybreakers or Blade, and it still would have made no, it still would have made the same amount of sense.
that would also explain all the religious undertones, or actually, I would even say overtones, because it's so obviously.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
This is part of the reason why I think, because every single time I thought about the sort of the vampire overtones of that, I always came back to Daybreakers, and every single time I thought about it, it was like, this is almost the same as Daybreakers. It's just the MacGuffin stuff
Yeah,
is different. It's rather than emotion, it's humans in Daybreakers, and that's it. It's just a cure for vampirism in humans,
yeah,
and and so it's just going. It's like this really could have been Daybreakers before Daybreakers, but I think someone must have gone, no, we're not doing vampire movies anymore. Why? I don't know. They're not going to be popular in 5 years' time.
but they're still gonna keep the Christian
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Like,
still gonna keep the vampire imagery and the village undertones as per vampire stuff,
yeah,
and just okay. But I
mm,
think it would have been better if it was um, vampire stuff, because then it would have beaten Twilight to the punch.
yeah.
It's like, oh yes, we are vampires, we are broody, we are basically Batman but vampires.
Didn't they
It's
already steal that from Dracula 2000?
yeah,
That
well,
had the exact same thing.
yeah, well, because part of the original vampire stuff was basically hedonistic, so it was less emotion and more doing whatever you feel like.
Yeah,
But then it slowly became, as vampires became romanticized through like the 70s and 80s and stuff like that. It became more romanticized and going, oh look, I am broody. Oh, no one will know my life. It's like the Interview with a Vampire.
hmm,
Whereas, oh, I'm dark and broody up because I'm immortal, I can't die, but everyone must die. It's all right when it's not too heavy-handed, but then there's stuff like Twilight. You just go like, oh, for fuck, just die, just shoot yourself, please. You're boring. It's there's being Batman, and then there's being fucking some depressed nut. Because at least Batman has villains. The most interesting part of Batman has always been the villains. Batman generally is kind of boring. He's just a rich man with a power suit and daddy issues. Yeah.
but yeah, the movie. It's hard to ignore all the Christian symbolism in it. I mean, the place they work for is called the Tetragrammaton.
Yeah, and they're called
That,
clerics.
yeah, the Tetragrammaton is the four letters of God. You
Is it?
know, yeah, JHWH. That's the
Ah.
Tetragrammaton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it literally means four letters. That's the meaning of the word Tetragrammaton.
Okay, didn't know that. I've learned something.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And they are called clerics.
Yeah.
Their symbol is the St. George cross.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
that was the first thing, because that was almost the same thing that V for Vendetta did, is that they had this pseudo-religious but more religious but conservative because in the V for Vendetta one, it's the normal cross, but it's got like the lines through it. It was like, well, that's a conservative symbol. It's
Yeah. And then they are working for Father, who rules them all, with the what's his name? Hold on, let me see if I wrote his name down somewhere. DuPont, the main bad guy. He spurts out lines like, "It is the will of the Father, and His will is law. It's not for us to understand His will; it's for us to obey it." That's
Yeah.
quotes taken directly from the Bible.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
yeah. There's
And then
one thing that can be said for late 90s sort of dystopia, or the sort of 1984 dystopia, is they really hated Thatcher. They really hated Thatcher. This sort of this for quite hardline British conservative. The rest of the world, not much of a conservative. Thatcher to the US is sort of a weak conservative compared to like others. That's America's problem. Yeah, we just have to deal with someone who is destroyed manufacturing industry in the UK. But that's just bias, political bias. It's yeah. I really shouldn't go on about Thatcher. I'm probably, I really shouldn't. I'm probably one of the people that would complain a lot, and then everyone would just shout at me for being wrong.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if you noticed. It's hard to notice when you see it the first time, but the guns, when they flare out,
Yeah, they got
they
the little cross
actually,
thing at the bottom.
yeah, they actually flare out
Yeah,
in
I
the cross.
yeah, I actually noticed that because that is also a thing that was in Blade and in Daybreakers.
Mhm.
That's also something that's in Blade and Daybreakers is that they have that because the reason why Blade and Daybreakers have it is so they can punch vampires in the face with they can just beat vampires with the gun and it kills them. It's like having the thing in Constantine, the one I actually quite like Constantine,
Yeah, but
where he brings out the brass knuckles with the crosses on them.
yeah,
So he
but
can just punch.
that's actually imprinted on the weapons themselves. I'm talking about the gun flare, the fire that comes out sometimes when you shoot,
Ah, okay,
the gunpowder residue firing out of the barrel.
yeah,
That comes out in the shape of the tetragrammaton cross.
really, okay.
Yeah,
I could
it's a
tell it was
T in either
I could
direction.
tell it was CG because it
Yeah,
was shit. This is the other thing about late 90s sci-fi. The CG has aged woefully.
thing
It's
is, the thing is, the movie it is kind of a mess, but it's a lovely mess, and it
yeah,
comes from
it's a coherent mess.
yeah, it comes from the director also being the writer of it, having producers that kept meddling with it, like uh, they had a martial arts expert to help with the gun kata, the ridiculous thing they do with the guns.
Yeah,
Yeah. The
it's
thing is, Kurt Wimmer, the writer of the whole thing, he also knows a little bit of martial arts. He had already recorded the whole gun kata thing. It's actually him you see on the screen when you see the screen where they show all the statistics about the gun kata.
okay.
But the martial artist they took in to consult with is trained in classic karate, which is very, very jerky motions.
Yeah,
And
it's
Wimmer
yeah,
wanted fluid motions. So,
yeah. He wanted more jujitsu rather than
yeah.
karate.
So what
So
they ended up with was, a mix between the two, which was made by having them do all the motions fluidly and then afterwards go in and
do
mess with the
poses.
timing of it,
Yeah,
speed up and slow down footage to make the jerky motions out of it.
yeah. The one thing that I really didn't like about the Gun Carter stuff is that, especially in the first time you see it when Christian Bale goes into the dark room, I just thought it's like, oh, this is going to be impressive. It's going to be like Blade style, whoa, kung fu, and then it's just him doing poses with really bad sort of blur effects on him. It's like just going like, you're just doing pose. What? This looks awful.
And you
Yeah,
don't see anything. It's just darkness and a strobe light, basically.
yeah. And the thing is, that's it. I think because that's well, because this is one of the things that happened with the post Matrix stuff. Everyone went, we must have bullet time because bullet time is cool, and it is.
Hmm.
But the guy, like, oh yes, we must have wire fu, but the wire fu in this looked awful because
That's
it was.
because they never used a single wire in it. None of it is wire fu.
Oh, okay.
It's all
That
optical.
explains the
Yeah.
that explains because the one place where I really noticed it is when Chris Preston is defending the puppy when he's outside, and then he does that flip with the shotgun with his pistols
Yeah.
at when the light of the truck is behind him,
Hmm.
and I just looked at that and go like, the truck is one part of the frame, the people are another part of the frame, and Christian Bale is the third part of the frame. This is really bad blue screen. This is just they've overlaid so many shots, and even then it looked like with the amount of spin Christian Bale had to look like it's going to land on his head. It's like Jesus, yeah,
I think a lot of the flaws of the movie was intentional. Because you see, like, you could see that Preston could feel before he went off the Prosium. But I think that might have been intentional. That they're
yeah.
showing that the Prosium is not 100% accurate, and that's how people fall off it.
Yeah, I think that might have been the whole dystopian future thing where it's the whole you cannot really depress the will of the people. You cannot depress us. You cannot oppress us because we are human and blah 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 and all that crap. So I think it is, may have had that sort of message. I have not really sure. It might have. It might have tried for that one, but yeah, it's yeah. I think that ends up being one of the things about this film is that it's got all this religious tones and all these vampire tones, and it's all very stylistic and all sort of things like that. But there, at some points, it just falls flat. But it doesn't fall flat as in bad. It just goes okay. It's the sort of thing where you just go along with it
Yeah.
rather than going, oh, that's awful. Yeah.
I mean, for all its flaws, most things presented is rather believable, though. It's not like they go outside the realm of what it called, the disbelief thing. You can still believe that everything that happens in the movie could actually happen, except for the gun kata, of course.
Yeah.
There is no way you can predict the trajectory of weapons in such a way that you can actually train in movements that would avoid all trajectories. That's just bullshit. Even if you could do that, even if you looked at all footage of fire there is and made a kata deliberately trying to avoid that, I think it would take like 10 minutes for your enemy to realize that and start shooting, in other trajectories.
Mm.
Shoot towards the ground or something like that.
Yeah. Well, because there was one of the things that I just couldn't help always thinking was that the whole Gonkata thing was always got all of these different poses and things like that. And I just started thinking, what happens if they're just not in that pose or they're behind cover? You won't hit them, and so you're doing all these fancy poses and whoa, but there's still you might miss.
Then
And
one person stands 5 inches to the left instead.
yeah, and the whole thing always involves because the first thing that I thought is just like, wow, those guns must have massive clips if they're going through all of these different poses, and they have to fire all of them to
Mm-hmm.
have the whole Gonkata thing, to have the whole every possible outcome is considered. And it's like, how many rounds are you firing? This is like,
He's firing 60 rounds. There are 15 bullets in each clip. That's why he has the pause in the middle of it. And you see that towards the end as well. He has a pause in the middle of it because he's dropping the clips, and then he has, the Assassin's Creed blade thing, but with magazines instead. So he just pulls the guns down and the clips slide in.
Yeah, that
So
was
he's firing 60 shots in that scene, and that's exactly 4 clips.
yeah. I always thought that was really convenient.
Yeah.
It's any sort of tech like that. You just go like, oh, it's really convenient. Oh, it springs the guns out, but it also springs the magazines out. Well, that's convenient. And that stuff is actually really hard to make. And trying to conceal a gun in your sleeve. Uh,
That's why they
Guns
always have
aren't
such
arm
long
shaped.
sleeves, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's like guns aren't arm shaped. It's kind of obvious, especially a gun that big. Because from what I could tell, they look like Desert Eagles. The problem is,
They're,
Desert Eagles only have like 7-shot clips,
yeah. It's
so it's like,
Beretta F22S, I think it's called.
if it's Berettas, that's probably about right.
It's 9 mils, so it's
Yeah, what
you can
9 mils?
yeah, you can fit 15 rounds in a mag.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 45. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I was just thinking of the 45s.
Yeah.
So it's like,
No,
hang on a
they're
minute.
guns, not cannons.
Yeah, yeah. I,
Desert Eagle, that's not a gun, that's anti-aircraft.
yeah, fucking. It's like the line that Dirty Harry says. It's like this thing can punch through a wall. I don't know. Did I fire 5 rounds or 6? It's like, yeah, because that's the amount of shots you have, even with these guns.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Most people don't realize how powerful it really is, or they don't realize Newton's third law of motion. So many people that, oh, I got the Desert Eagle, try to firing it at the range and dislocate their wrist.
yeah, those guns are cannons. This is part of the reason why the thing is, even with me, even I would prefer like the Bretta 9 mils rather than the 45s because you get more, because you have less stopping power, but you have more bullets.
Yeah.
And I'd rather go for the British temperament of being accurate rather than emptying the entire clip.
Yeah.
It sort of says a lot for the American police forces as well sometimes. Mm.
The 45, it's made to stop a guy. 9 millimeters is made for killing people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's specially made for killing people because it's just that right caliber to, penetrate between the rib bones and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's designed for speed rather than stopping power.
Yeah. No, you don't need to stop him if he's already dead.
Yeah.
With the 45, you just need to aim roughly in his direction and you don't have to worry about him again.
Mm. I just thought again as well is that with this film, all the good guys always use pistols, and it's only in actually yeah, it's like the what is it, the FAMAS or something. It's because both in the time when the black guy who was the black guy? I always thought it was Mos Def for some reason.
No,
It's,
what's his name?
for some reason I just went, oh, that's Mos Def. No, that's not Mos Def, but I couldn't
Yeah.
get the idea out of my head.
Hold on,
But yeah, it was
I'll just check it up.
yeah, because
Yeah.
they carried because he in the section where he's doing the raid, he carries the same gun as Christian Bale does at the very end, but all of the bad guys carry things like scorpions and AKs and
Yeah.
these Russian weapons. It's the Americans again, slightly heavy-handed, saying, "Oh, look, buy Colts or Berettas because they're Italian." It's
Tay
don't buy,
Diggs is his name, by the way.
huh?
Tay Diggs. That's his name.
Never heard of him. S.
Oh, you've probably seen him a lot of times. Hold on,
Yeah,
I'll bring up some of his more.
yeah, yeah. Well, the stuff is he in actually.
He comes in Private Practice, a TV series.
Yeah,
He plays Sam Bennett. Um, Better Off Ted, Grey's Anatomy, where he plays Sam Bennett again, obviously. He was in Daybreak, Will and Grace, Kevin Hill. He's actually Kevin Hill from Kevin Hill.
Yeah, TV actor then, I suppose.
Yeah, a lot of it. Oh, and here is it's actually listed as Cubic on his IMDb profile.
I wonder if that was actually supposed to, like, that was the original title, and Equilibrium just went, oh, we need something for the American audiences. Fuck it, Equilibrium. Equilibrium is mentioned once. We need the
Yeah,
close
there,
curtain call.
yeah, there were a lot of things, a lot of names that were changed during production. You know, the city's name is Libria,
Yeah,
and
because they're so liberal.
that actually comes from the drug's original name, Librium. And I can't remember exactly what it is, but Librium is already a patented drug, so they weren't allowed to use that name. They were under risk of being
Okay.
sued for saying that it's Librium when
It's
Librium does
Librium!
something.
Why? Dystopian future! Don't go to, was it GlaxoSmithKline or something?
So
It's,
just in a panic, they just rushed something together. Okay, what does it do? It removes all your emotions and make you calm. Prosium and lithium then. Or Prozac and lithium.
yeah.
Oh, Prosium. They just toss the names together.
Yeah, it's like, fuck it, he's going, we need a drug that sounds psychosomatic. Ah, screw it, we'll just have Lipolium or something.
Yeah.
Lipolium. I think most of the time it doesn't really matter. It's just a MacGuffin most of the time. Just ends up just being a MacGuffin.
There was something else I was thinking of that's here on the IMDb page. Yeah, I got nothing. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, Libria, that could either derive from liberty or the same word that library comes from. So again, with the Christian undertones, you could read it as the book, which is also the literal meaning for the word Bible. So
Yeah.
Libria is just another name for Bible.
Yeah. Some of the
If we go
religious
back to the
tones are
Christian
just,
undertones thing.
yeah, some of the, it's, again, the religious tones are slightly heavy-handed in places.
Yeah,
So it's just a tad.
just that. Uh,
Uh, is there anything else you want to talk about the film?
not that I can think of. I feel like this has been another very negative review of it, but that's not at all what I mean.
Yeah, it's
I just think it's somehow easier to point out the negative things, but it's actually an awesome movie, and most of the martial arts is rather cool.
yeah. Well, it's sort of like the thing that I said at the beginning. It's one of those '90s films, so it's just one of those films that hasn't aged very well. So
Yeah.
so it's sort of thing. We look at it now and just go like, it's kind of crap. But then back then it was the shit. It's like all the films were like this.
But
It's,
at least they tried as much as they could in a time when everyone used CGI only to at least toss in mostly practical effects. They
yeah,
actually did remake an APB into looking like this futuristic fire truck tank thing.
yeah. They actually they they tried to get loads of the, because it's like some of the other sci-fi films of the time. It's just like they tried to get everything to look futury and fancy, and it's like, well, at least they tried. It's future is not this grey. At least hopefully bloody not anyway.
And they really did. They used real guns as bases, but they made them more futuristic by remaking them. Most of them becomes completely different things. Like you mentioned, the shotguns. The shotguns aren't really shotguns. They are Walther sniper rifles. They just removed the bipod and switched the handle to a shotgun style handle.
Okay then.
Yeah. That's actually something many people has pointed out as a flaw. Like, oh, he's holding a sniper rifle, but you hear a shotgun. And you
Yeah.
find out, yeah, if
Yeah.
you look
And he
at it,
pumps
it's
it as
actually,
and he pumps it as well because it's got
yeah,
the forward grip. It's
yeah.
like, okay.
So it's meant to be a shotgun. It's just that they use the base of a sniper rifle to make it,
Yeah.
supposedly to make it more futuristic. I mean, it does make sense in a way that you would have a slightly longer and smaller barrel if you're gonna use it in solely in urban environment where you need to take out specific people, which is what they would do most of the time.
Yeah. Or dogs.
Yeah, or dogs.
Yeah.
I do think they used slugs and not buckshots.
Yeah.
It
Oh
would be
God.
like big bullets. Yeah.
It's just it's got very little remains of this dog. That's quite bad. Yeah.
I know they put effort into it, and then something happened along the way, and small changes here and there just veered off more and more from the awesomeness. But
Yeah.
I mean, it is like it is believable, as I said. Most of it is believable, especially the ending sword fight between Preston and Brandt.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
That was shocking, actually.
Yeah,
No, how,
that was pretty cool.
yeah. I mean, I won't spoil it too much. People will have to watch it, but that that's probably my second favorite sword fight in any movie. Uh, so they do have a lot of cool stuff, and it's worth watching it just for the cool stuff.
Yeah, I think the film itself is very well. Like I said, the film is very good. It's just one of the sorts of genre films that hasn't aged very well. Because it's the same could be said for stuff like Underworld. Underworld, yeah, it's great. Aged woefully. It's
Well, at least
wow.
at least it didn't age as bad as Existence or Extra or any of those movies.
Oh,
Those are really
I had
aged.
to watch Existenz. I had to watch
Oh,
that for a fucking class.
when
Oh
it came
my
out, I loved
god.
it, and it looked so realistic when it came out. And it was a whole year before Matrix and everything. And then Matrix came out and just smashed it.
Uh, we may end up having at some point we may just do Existenz because the only line because the only thing I can really say for Existenz after I finish watching a movie is wow, I am suddenly horny. I am suddenly aroused. It's loads of the poking and the prodding and the placing of the inside of orifices. It's okay, I am now aroused. It's that was the only. It's like because I had to see that in a class of about 20, 25, 30 people, and it was like, okay, this is now just getting weird. This is
Yeah.
now just this has moved beyond sexual. It's okay. It's time fucking. God, it was weird. Especially looking at it now, I just looked at it and go like, wow, that just looks like a fucking sex toy.
Yeah, I tried watching it with Kenny, and it took like 5 minutes before I turned it off because every other second it's, what's that? Why is that like that? Why is the machine moving? What is that? What are
Why
they
does it have an
doing? What?
orifice?
No, no, don't lick the hole in her back. What are they doing?
Yes. Time for literal body fucking.
Yeah. And turn it off.
Yeah, that film gets weird very quickly. Because at least with this, because at least with this one, at least with the Equilibrium, it sets out all of the apocalypse sort of dystopian stuff, sets it all out, sets out the setting, and boom, it just runs with it. With
Mm.
films like Existence, it just gets weirder and weirder, and just ends up just going, "What the fuck is going on?" Although part of the reason why I had to watch it for a class is because we were talking about virtual reality and the whole twist ending. It's like, oh, are we real or are we not? But it's like, I know we're real. Why? I could punch you in the face and it hurts. It's
I
it's
mean, if the virtual reality is so good that if I punch you in the face and it hurts, I don't think it matters if you're still in the virtual world or not.
yeah,
And at that point, if any reality is reality, then it doesn't matter if you're out or not.
yeah. It's the whole sort of. You could probably have a whole talk. I think at some point we probably are just going to end up doing that
Yeah.
because well, for next time, I have sort of chosen a film. It's a film. It's sort of like Equilibrium. It's a film I've always been told to see, but haven't seen. So I'm probably going to see that and might change my mind. But yeah, sci-fi horror. That should be interesting.
Looking forward to it.
Going from sci-fi dystopian to sci-fi horror, then maybe sci-fi porn. It's, it's a slight adjustments, slight adjustments until we get to the what was it? Rise of the Vampire Nudist Colony or whatever it
Yeah.
was. It's like
Nudist Colony
sci-fi,
of the Dead.
sci-fi and boobs, sci-fi vampire and boobs, boobs.
Nudist Colony of the Dead, it was an old 80s comedy. I really recommend watching Brad Jones' review of it, the Cinema Snob.
Yeah.
That's one of the most hilarious things I've seen, both the movie and his review of it.
Uh, yeah.
Oh,
As we're finding most of these films on Netflix, we're bound to find quite a few weird ones.
yeah.
I think I'm always determined to find a couple of the weird ones. It's like if my DVD collection is anything to go by, I'm probably should be good at that.
I think they should add a category for that. So you can just go into Netflix and search weird. Just get
Yeah,
all of those.
really odd B movie stuff. Yeah,
Troll 2 and all of that. They're eating her. Then they're gonna eat me. Oh my
my
god!
God. Yeah, it's, I'm considering the age of the film. It was a
Yeah.
late hitter, I have to say. That was, uh, yeah, I think with that, we probably got enough about the film.
Yeah.
Probably given enough hints about some of the other films we're probably going to end up doing if we can
Yeah.
find them. Yeah, so I think with that, we'll call this to an end.
Yep.
And, right, so that's it for this week. Bye bye for now.
Bye bye.